August 8th, 1963. The early morning mist drifted across the English countryside as the Royal Mail train thundered through Buckinghamshire, carrying millions of pounds in used banknotes. Its journey seemed routine, a quiet run from Glasgow to London, until, at exactly 3:00 a.m., the signal light ahead turned red. The driver slowed, puzzled. He had no idea he was rolling straight into history. Moments later, he stopped the train near a small bridge called Sears Crossing. He climbed out to check the signal, and that's when a man appeared from the shadows. A heavy blow struck the driver's head, and Britain's most daring heist began. The gang behind this operation wasn't a bunch of reckless criminals. They were organized, strategic, and ruthless, led by Bruce Reynolds, a smooth-talking career thief with a taste for fine suits and fast cars. The crew included seasoned burglars, safecrackers, and muscle. 21 men in total, working together like a military unit. Their plan had been months in the making. Inside information from the postal system had revealed that a massive haul, over £2.6 million in cash, equivalent to nearly $70 million today, would be on that night's train. The money was old, worn bills being transported for destruction. But to the gang, it was gold. They tampered with the railway signal, switching the green light to red using a homemade battery device. When the train stopped, they overpowered the crew, disconnected the locomotive and the first two carriages, and moved them half a mile down the line. There, hidden under the bridge, the rest of the gang waited. Working in near silence, they passed bags of cash through the doors, stacking them like bricks inside a waiting truck. The moonlight glinted off their sweat and the dull canvas of the mailbags. The entire operation took just 30 minutes. When they were done, the men left the train crew tied up but unharmed. Then they vanished into the countryside, leaving behind only confusion and a faint smell of diesel and sweat. By dawn, the train stood abandoned, and the headlines would soon scream, "The Great Train Robbery." The gang drove to a remote farmhouse called Leatherslade Farm, which they had rented weeks earlier. There, they counted the money. Over $2,631,784, packed into 120 mail bags. They celebrated with beer and sandwiches, laughing at their success. They knew the police would be coming, but they thought they had time. They were wrong. The plan was to lay low for a few days and then burn the farm, destroying all evidence. But paranoia spread quickly. Some of the men grew restless. Others bragged in local pubs. Within days, Scotland Yard had uncovered the hideout. Inside, investigators found fingerprints everywhere, on bottles, playing cards, and the Monopoly board the gang had used to pass the time. The police launched one of the largest manhunts in British history. Within weeks, most of the robbers were caught. Their leader, Bruce Reynolds, managed to escape the country, fleeing through Mexico and Canada with his share of the loot. He lived like a ghost for years, always one step ahead of the law. But the story didn't end there. In 1964, after an intense investigation, 11 of the robbers were sentenced to a total of 307 years in prison. One of the harshest punishments ever handed down in the UK. It was meant as a message. No one steals from the crown and gets away with it. Still, the legend grew. One of the most notorious members, Ronnie Biggs, escaped from prison after serving just 15 months. He climbed over the wall using a rope ladder and vanished into the night. He spent decades living freely in Brazil, becoming a symbol of rebellion and charm to some, and a fugitive disgrace to others. Interviews, parties, even a rock album. Biggs turned his life into a strange celebrity act. The British authorities demanded his return for years, but Brazil's laws protected him. He became a living ghost of the Great Train Robbery. Meanwhile, much of the stolen money was never recovered. The police found a few thousand here and there, but the vast majority simply disappeared. Some said it was buried somewhere in the English countryside. Others believed it was laundered through businesses abroad. A few whispered that Reynolds himself might have hidden it, intending to retrieve it one day. Decades passed, and the story refused to fade. Books, films, documentaries. Everyone wanted to know how a group of working-class men had pulled off one of the most audacious crimes of the 20th century. It wasn't just the money, it was the elegance, the precision, and the sheer nerve of it all. Bruce Reynolds was finally captured in 1968 after 5 years on the run. When asked why he did it, he reportedly smiled and said, "Because it was there to be taken." Over time, Most of the robbers died in prison or in hiding. Ronnie Biggs eventually returned to the UK voluntarily in 2001, old and frail. He was immediately arrested, serving several more years before being released for medical reasons. He died in 2013, 50 years after the heist that made him infamous. Today, the Great Train Robbery remains a symbol of both brilliance and folly. A moment when ordinary men challenged an empire, outsmarted the system, and for a brief, glittering moment lived as legends. If you visit the old tracks near Cheddington, you can still feel the ghost of that night in the air. The rumble of the engine, the flash of red on the signal light, the whisper of men moving in the dark. For 30 minutes in 1963, they held the attention of an entire nation, and half a century later, we're still talking about it. Because sometimes the line between history and myth is just one perfect crime.